Say It Skillfully is about being who you really are and saying what you think needs to be said, even at work. Whether you're part of a small project team or leading a giant company, the more you accept that you're part of the problem, the faster you can be part of the solution. Join Molly Chang today as together we break the silence and learn how to be happier, healthier, and more productive at work and in life.
Hello, Molly here. Welcome to Say It Skillfully, helping you find the words to create shared reality in a way that's true to yourself. I have great passion around how the private sector and nonprofit sectors come together to help lift society. My guest and friend today shares this deeply. Wearing many hats, he's a New York City real estate mogul, sustainability advocate, and philanthropist. Alongside his day job as president of top real estate firm River to River Realty, he's often recognized for his work as president of the Atelier Condo, a sustainability-forward luxury building. I find how he has role modeled doing good by doing well a great example for us. As realtor for numerous celebrities, he's collaborated with his network to expand their philanthropic reach and amplify awareness of worthy causes. In 2019, for example, he held a celebrity boxing match with heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, whose signed boxing gloves were put up for charity auction. By the end of the match, they'd raised over $100,000 for autism awareness. Involved with the nonprofit Room to Grow, which offers structured coaching, material goods, and community connections to support parents and children, he collaborated with Bruce Willis and Uma Thurman to host their annual benefit, and most recently helped adapt the event to a virtual format when COVID-19 would have otherwise made an in-person fundraiser impossible. As a child, he saw the painful reality of homelessness and financial insecurity take a toll on friends and neighbors. Several years ago, he went undercover and lived on the streets for 3 days to gain a first-person experience of how it feels to be without shelter and support. Today, he connects those experiencing homelessness with medical care, jobs, and housing. While often pictured in the high life, that is not his roots. I am delighted we have a chance to hear his story today. A warm welcome to my friend, Dan Neiditch. Dan, welcome to Say It Skillfully.
Thank you, Molly. I really appreciate being on your show.
It's a real treat for me and for listeners. I have tons of questions on my mind. But before going there, I want to hand it over to you to share your journey with us.
Well, it's a long journey, and I don't know if your show is long enough, but I can sit here and give a brief synopsis of part of my journey. It's been many years ago since I grew up in the Bronx in New York, right in the city. And it was a different time back then growing up for me and for the city. I've seen so many changes happen here in New York. I'm happy to be a lifelong New Yorker, and I'll always support my hometown and especially the neighborhoods where I grew up. So growing up as a kid, things weren't as easy for me as it would be for, many people in New York. I grew up in a underprivileged family where we got our food from food stamps. We lived in affordable housing, and it was not an easy time for my family, for me. And but you know what? Growing up like that and seeing the harsh realities of the other side of New York and being in that as a young child really instilled in me the drive I needed to succeed, that I had no option, and that to be successful, I had to be my own advocate, and I needed to be there for myself because I had no one else that was there for me that would help guide me on my route there. So being a young kid from the Bronx is really, just being a young kid in general too, there's not much you can really do when you're, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. really, I started out just getting food for my family. My first business deal was with our local pizza place. And as a 6-year-old, I asked them, I said, can you please, at the end of the night, give your leftover pizza so my family, can have it? And they obliged, even though wasn't a money transaction. It was still my first, you know, business dealing, so to speak. And that's what we ate. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was pizza for a few years there. Um, but it was, like I said, growing up was a unique experience. I don't want to get into all the details of everything, but I think you have a basis of an idea of a picture of where I came from. And you know me now, where I am now in life, and there's a big change, so to speak. So after growing up, I in New York, I ended up, getting into a great school. I went to Boston University, which is, it's a decent school. I thought, actually, because my schooling, I wasn't the best student growing up. I missed a lot of school due to family issues. And I didn't even think I'd get into any colleges. And then I applied. I think I applied to about 20 of them, and I got into every single one. All 20 schools accepted me, and which was, really great start, and to see that people do care, and there was people there. Obviously the admissions boards that said, what, this person has a lot to offer, has been through a lot, maybe isn't at where the other kids are at, but let's give him a shot. And I was surprised. Every single school accepted me. So I ended up taking BU on and went to the school there. It was a great place going to college in Boston. Such a wonderful college town. And I got into business school. And my goal right out of school was to work on Wall Street. I just always saw that as a place to be, where I noticed people were successful. I actually interned at Smith Barney while I was in college. And I said, that's the course. That's what I want to do. As a kid and going to school, you have your vision of what you think is the right direction for you to go in, but you never really know where life's going to take you. And that I knew from growing up, that there's always surprises and things that will come up. So when I graduated school was in 2001. And my first job was at GE Asset Management, September 2001. A few days into my job, obviously we know what happened. September 11th took place, and they basically laid off all the new hires. So right out of school, my first job, I was laid off within, pretty much a few days, just based on the events that happened in the world back then. It was disheartening. And, I said to myself, I said, wow, just like that, something happens in life, and look, you can be terminated from your job. And I think Wall Street, I realized, was susceptible to that. I ended up getting my next job at Barclays Bank, which is now people know it's a big English bank. Back then, it wasn't so popular in the U.S., and not many people heard of it that lived in the U.S. And after being there for a few months, I was promoted to be a manager, and I was on a trading floor, and was on that trading desk for about a year, and was managing about 25 people at the time. And then after that, my director, who was senior to me, and then there was a senior director that was managing, 100 people there, maybe 200 people, was laid off. And I'm sorry, they were not laid off. They left to go to Cantor Fitzgerald and for a better opportunity. Since Cantor was very depleted from 9/11, they were on a hiring spree. And from there, I basically jumped into their roles and took on all that extra responsibility of essentially being a managing director of a big bank. They didn't hire anyone else at the time, and they just asked me to step in those roles and run the ship. And I did that for about 6 months and pretty much ran that division better than it ever was before, saved the firm millions and millions of dollars by new processes I put in place, and was working pretty much 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. It was a very tough position to jump into. And but it was something that I handled and was motivated to do it and knew I can do it. After those 6 months, things calmed down, schedules were back to normal, the company was doing great, and I get called into the CEO of the Americas office, and he said to me that, Dan, hey, you've done a great job. You really stepped up and, saved our asses, so to speak. And he said, but I have to let you know that we're going to be hiring someone in those positions. And I said, what do you mean? I've been doing this job the last 6 months. I've done better than the previous people that were there. And he says, we all know that. You've done great. But he said, you're just too young. I said, wow, I'm too young. I said, that should have no relevance in this job. I've shown you I could do it, and I've done better than anyone else. I've saved your company, the company, millions of dollars. And he said, well, sorry, it's just the way it is on Wall Street. I said, wow. Well, I said, you know what? Then I quit. And right there on the spot, I told him that if you're going to hire this person above me, then I'm going to leave. And that's what I did. And they begged me to stay. Said, please, just, you got to work under this person, but you'll still be run. I said, you know what? If that's how it is, that matters how old I am. It's not how hard I'm working. It's not what I'm doing for this company. It's my age. Then he said, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this company anymore. And I said to myself, you know what? The only way to be successful and to really have your own, you don't have to worry about getting laid off. You don't have to worry about people getting hired above you, is owning your own company, starting your own firm. And I always loved the real estate business. And I just literally decided within a couple of days of that, I was going to open my own real estate company. I had no experience in the real estate business at the time. And just said, let me give it a chance, because I don't like how these companies or Wall Street treats people. When times are tough, they just fire you. They just want you to sit at your desk for 20 years and get promoted. And I saw people just did the bare minimum. And that's not my philosophy. I don't believe in just doing the bare minimum. I believe in actually working hard and accomplishing something. And that's not what I saw in the culture there back then. So I started my company, River to River Realty. This is 20 years ago. And it was just me and just a website. And I started from there. I just opened up my doors. I came up with a marketing plan, things I've learned from school, and just ideas of how to run a company successfully, and all the pieces. And I did it. I started the company, and immediately things started to go very well. The same hard work I was putting in, working on Wall Street, was was the same effort that I was putting in on my own business. Now, even more so, because now I would actually see the results and the benefits from my hard work. And as years went on, the company kept growing in different directions. As a business leader, you have to identify, the market trends. You have to identify other similar businesses that you can get into that complement your business, that could add extra revenue. And I started to do that, getting into construction business and getting into corporate furnished housing business. I was one of the biggest corporate furnished housing vendors, in New York, 18 years ago. There was not many people were in that business. And it was something I found a niche in, and it did very well. And, now things have changed in that industry. There's just a flood of furnished apartments with Airbnb and those other operators that kind of diluted. But I jumped out of that business pretty much a few years ago, seeing that there was this glut of inventory hitting the markets, and it just wasn't the same business having those corporate furnished housing. Then I got into investing, and any money I would make in commissions, I would invest my money back into the properties. A lot of the commissions that I got, I would actually invest it into the property that I was brokering, and would take a 5-6% stake in the apartment. And from there, which is something I don't think anyone ever did before, and then would take on the management of the properties as well. And that really seemed to be a smart move, to reinvest my money into investment properties. And eventually I would buy out all those partnerships, and take over most of that inventory. And I would invest in, neighborhoods that I saw that had potential. And I got into investing into the Hamptons and Westchester, and really started to expand the business and the company, and broaden its reach. And, today I sit on, the president of my company. I'm also president, as you said, of the utility condo, which I do have a lot there. And the company now, we manage over $1 billion in real estate across the tri-state area. I have inventory of properties, over that size for myself that I manage as well, my own properties. And the business now is a sustainable company that's been in business for 20 years, running a New York City real estate company for 20 years and successfully getting through multiple recessions and, going through COVID. It's never easy, but you know what? When you run your own company, you're able to make those decisions and see the course in front of you and have to go and make the right decisions so you can stay afloat, keep the company moving forward. And that's something that I've done. I am, people say, are you proud of what you've done? I am proud of what I've accomplished from where I came from. And the success, people say, wow, you're very successful. Oh, you have a lot of money. For me, that stuff isn't as important as people may think. For me, it's important to give back to the communities that I grew up in the Bronx, like Room to Grow, where I did work with Bruce Willis and Uma Thurman at that charity. And we would raise tons of money, and I hosted events with them to raise money for the kids in the Bronx. Those same kids that I was one of them. And I know where they are and how a lot of times they feel that they're hopeless and there's no getting out of their family situation or their life situation. But I've shown that there is hope and there is a way to get out. You just have to really put your mind to it, and you can accomplish anything. And that's something that I like to instill in children, that let them know that there's hope, and let them know one of their own has made it. And that's really where my driving force is these days, is more on the philanthropist side. of my life, and I'm still, running a company, but I'm more hands off than I used to be, so I can focus on this effort to really make the world a better place, and New York as well. I'm the chairman of the Max Alexander Foundation. We're an organization that helps build schools in Africa because everyone needs a chance. Not just people in New York. I really wanted to broaden my reach on my charitable efforts as well, and that's very important to me. That kids around this world that don't have the opportunities we have being in the United States to even just have a school. So those are the type of things that drive me these days. And yeah, I get a lot from people say, "Oh, you know this celebrity, you know that celebrity." You know what? Celebrities, they're people too, but the ones that I associated with are ones that actually want to help others and do care and use their celebrity for good and can make a difference. And those are people I respect. And yeah, I do choose to be friends with them. And if our goals are aligned in business and in philanthropist side of things. And today, just happy, I'm in New York, and my future from here forward is going to try to make the world a better place and do what I can and do my part. And I want to thank you again for having me speak and give a chance to let people know where I came from and a little bit at least. Yeah, I'm happy to hear any other questions you have.
Ugh, I am so moved by you, my friend. Big, big hug. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You think you have a sense of your friends, folks, and then you're like, wow, you really don't know. And what an incredible journey. I have thousands of questions. What comes to me going through this tough stuff as a kid, this confidence, the pizza, was that something you recall? Because sometimes naivete serves you well. Was it a fear-based thing? Was it a need thing where you were just, I'm going to provide? I'm just wondering if you recall, and not to bring back any pain, just what, was it just kind of a necessity thing that you just were out to like do what you could?
Yeah, it was a necessity. My parents were not able to take care of themselves. So essentially, I raised myself. We didn't have much. My parents weren't around a lot. They had some substance abuse issues, and there'd be times that I didn't see them for months at a time. It's different back then in the 80s. There was social services, maybe it was around, but no one really did anything. No one stepped in and said anything. I would get myself to school. I would do my homework. There'd be times that I'd miss school, a lot of school because my parents would take me, and make me, stay out late with them. And I just wasn't able to even wake up for school. But it was a different time. It was a different time. But yeah, everything that I had to do was necessity based. I didn't have the essentials. I didn't even have a toothbrush. I didn't have clothes. Had to wear pretty much the same clothes, and no one cleaned the clothes. Like the basic things that you would think that you would have, I didn't have. So when I had to get food, it's because we really had no food, and my parents would sell our, food stamps and use their welfare money for other stuff. So it was tough. There wasn't much to do but to survive and just to get by and to make sure that, I was able to eat. I would walk to school with a pizza in my hand and put it in my cubby when I got to school. I didn't have a backpack. I didn't have a lunchbox. That's what I would come to school with a piece of pizza in my hand. And that's what I would eat.
Well,
At the time, yeah. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
I was just say the kids would say, "Wow, that's so cool. He's bringing his own pizza to school every day." But you would see the teachers, and they really didn't say anything. They really never got involved. It just was a different time back then where people kind of minded their own business and didn't really step up to help a kid in need. Which for me, I guess I could say I'm happy everything turned out the way it did. So I don't look down, or I'm not upset at anyone that they didn't do anything, but it is what it is. This is how my life was. And I had to make very critical decisions and things at such a young age. And I saw a lot of disturbing things at such a young age that it opened my mind and maybe made me smarter and wiser, or whatever you want to say. But it just, when you're that young and you have to go through very harsh realities, it motivates you. It makes you motivated, and I think it makes you, that makes that drive. And this, at least for me, it made that drive in me that I wanted a different life, and I wanted to make something of myself. And I don't want to be judged based on what my parents did or what my family did. I never want to be judged based on that. And I don't think any child should be judged based on decisions that their family makes or parents make. It's unfortunate that that happens. Sometimes you're judged in that way when people would look at you, and shake their head and like, who's this dirty kid? And, they look at you like you're a piece of garbage. And that's why I did go undercover as a homeless person, to really, as an adult, experience it, to see what people really go through in life and the harsh realities of life. Not everyone is privileged. Not everyone has the opportunities that people have. A lot of people have to make their own luck and make their own opportunities in life, like me. And that's, why I do the things that I do. I have just a motivation behind what I've been through that kind of guides me through the future.
The sense of purpose is crystal clear. Do you recall feeling sorry for yourself, not being bitter? When I hear you, I know how you've taken the high road, you've made yourself stronger for these struggles, all that like perfect stuff. But I'm just wondering if you recall, just feeling sorry for yourself and woe is me, or did you just not have time?
I never had time to feel sorry for myself. I never looked at things like that. I always looked at my situation as a learning experience and never a pity party. I never asked anyone for, any pity of what I went through. I mean, I've known you all these years and never spoke to you a word about any of this. And it's not something I go and talk about. And I'm kind of keeping the specifics and the details very minimal here. I'm really giving you, scratching just a really bit of the surface. There's a lot that I saw and a lot that happened that I won't be getting into today. I hope you understand that, but just want to kind of give the basis here. Yeah. But I don't feel sorry. I feel sorry for that child, me. I feel sorry for what that kid went through, and it's sad at times looking back. But that's something that I'll always have inside me. I'll always have that young kid that went through those harsh realities of life, and and like I said, it just makes you a stronger person as an adult.
Yes, it has made you, and I think that is not to be overstated, because that doesn't happen. Lots of times there's folks who don't find the way, don't have the inner will and the drive. So it's just, I look just with this extra glimpse into you, I just can see your wherewithal, right? And it helps me to see how you have been able to stay high and you make the most and you're so true to your values. I want to go to the early job, that's a lot for a young person to have lost the job and then to have the kind of work experience, and I hope it's evolved, on Wall Street, but having the just going and saying, I'm quitting and never looking back also says a lot. And was that a naivete thing? Was that an emotional thing? Or was that just wisdom, early wisdom, when you think back about just saying, I quit?
Molly, I've always followed my gut, and my first reactions have always served me right. Um, Going back from a kid to now, I have good judgment with decisions. And for me, it wasn't as hard a decision as you think. Even though I was doing great, I was moving up very fast. I was the youngest manager that they had in the company. I think there was like 20,000 employees in New York at the time, or I don't know the exact number, but I was the youngest manager. I was promoted very early and was moving up quick, and I showed them what I'm capable of. But the fact that they could just really dismiss you like that and, just show you that doesn't matter how hard you work, doesn't matter how smart you are, it's how long you're there. And to me, that wasn't good enough. And I knew that it wasn't really a hard decision to quit. Yeah, should I have had a backup plan in place? Probably. But you know what? I've always worked better with my back against the wall and a gun to my head and have no options. And I knew that I'd find a way. And it only took a couple of days to get there, to think it through. It took a couple of weeks to really organize and structure and, get things up and, get my website running and, little things took time, but I knew what I wanted to do. I said, I want to be a business owner. I want to own my own company. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to listen and take orders from anyone else. It just doesn't work for me. I was never able to as a kid either. I couldn't listen to people telling me what to do, especially when they had no experience. And I had real life experience and I've seen real things. So it's always been difficult to listen. I could always listen and learn from people that actually are knowledgeable and something. And I love learning from other people. But there's times where you're just like, hey, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. And I'm not listening to this nonsense. And that was me. That was just classic me. People that know me would say is that, quitting and just finding a way and making something out of nothing. Literally, I had just the money I saved up from when I was working at Barclays, took that money and started a business, and there's not a day goes by that I don't regret that. Obviously, that changed my life. I wouldn't be where I am today if I was working at a bank even if I was CEO of a bank, I wouldn't be where I am today. What I've accomplished and where I've got to all came from that one day when, I made that decision to quit and put me in a position to be a philanthropist at my age, which I'm proud of to do that. And I don't think I ever would have got there working at a bank. Not that there's anything wrong with working at a bank and being a part of a big company, but there's nothing like being your own boss. There's nothing. I encourage it for all young people or entrepreneurs to try to succeed at it. It's worth the risk to invest in yourself. And, not everyone's capable of it. I understand that. But when I go and I speak to schools, I go and every year I talk to, schools in New York, and I talk to the kids and tell them that, listen, you can do anything. You can achieve anything. You just have to put your mind to it.
I love that you don't suffer fools well and this never looking back. I know you learn from it, but you're always forward in motion. I'd love to switch gears because your business acumen, clearly you are able to see what other people don't see, or you see it sooner in terms of trends. And so, here you are, this young, just put up a shingle, have a website. So just share with people, hey, I'm going to start a business. What did you do actually to get out there, how were you reaching out to people, getting some modicum of credibility when you really
Mhm.
didn't know what you were doing? I mean, I would love for folks to get a glimpse into that.
Well, I'm not going to say I didn't know what I was doing because I read a lot on it. I've experienced real estate just being in New York. You kind of a little bit about, especially when I was looking for apartments, and kind of got a sense of what these people are doing. And yeah, I started with the website. First, I had to come up with a name, and I just liked river to river, East River to the Hudson River, and I just like, this encompasses the city, and it just sounded like a name that people, and it sounded familiar, even though it wasn't.
Mhm.
And I think you have to try to act as if you're a bigger establishment and company than you really are in the beginning. Um, you know, Show that this is something you've been doing for years, have the confidence in that. I think people recognize that I was able to, show that I knew what I was talking about. Maybe I wasn't fully up to speed on everything, but I really had a grasp for what the business entailed. And yeah, in the beginning, it was just advertising. Back then was really like Craigslist and smaller things that, free advertising spaces to just get the phones ringing, and building relationships with people and bonds. I started as a broker. I got my real estate license, pretty quick. I took the test and studied within a very short period of time. I actually had my salesperson license when I was 18. I got it. I don't know why I did it. I just got it to get it. And I really didn't even do one deal. I didn't do anything with it. So I actually had studied for it previously. Um, so that actually paid off for me doing that, because then I was able to jump in as a broker right away. But yeah, and just very small deals at first, and just getting my feet wet, and then it just really started to transform into larger deals and bigger commissions, and things were rolling pretty rapidly. And then in identifying the need for furnished housing, I would take my own inventory of apartments and furnish them. And back then you can mark up 300% the rent by having a shorter term furnished apartment. It was just something that very few people were doing, and I've since been copied um, from then. But that was a big thing too. And I had some big corporate clients, Ernst and Young. I had 100 apartments with them, and Deloitte and some other big banks and Broadway shows would all come to me for their corporate furnished housing. It was, the word got around that I had really furnished nice apartments. I didn't really have any decorating experience, but I just kind of knew what looked good and what people liked. And that was the type of furniture that I would buy. It was a very profitable side of the business, that business, in addition to the brokerage side, and then eventually getting into construction, and then investing, and then management. It was just kind of step by step. Things took their time and developed, and, very rapidly though. The growth happened pretty quickly.
That is spectacular. So we all know we learn the most from our mistakes. I'm curious, a few things that you might look back as great learning moments, share with folks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's going to be times where, you make a couple missteps, but you got to correct them right away, which I think anytime I made a misstep in life, I've corrected them. I like to think it doesn't happen very often, but anyone in business, when you're in business, you can, maybe make a wrong decision about which direction the, economy is going and the real estate market. And is it the right time to invest? Is it the wrong time? And, there's been times where, you can miscalculate a little bit, but the smart people and the successful ones are the ones that can use that and use it as a learning experience so you never make the same mistake twice. And I think that's something as an entrepreneur that's very important, is to learn from mistakes and learn from missteps, and not evaluating the entire picture of a situation, or events that take place in the world. It kind of all affects the real estate market here in New York. So you really have to be a person, a worldly person, and really know what's going on around the world to understand your marketplace in New York, because we are such a big attraction to the world, and there's people from all over the world that invest in New York. So if you have countries that are having issues, you're like, well, how come those people aren't coming? The same people that I had buy 30 apartments from me, why aren't they buying anymore? And because their economy is in turmoil, or they're having a war in their country. So you just gotta have your eyes open, but mistakes will happen. It's just how you correct them that changes your future.
Yeah. Yeah, a big part of many things I marvel about you, but one in particular is your ability to read people, to connect with them, and just share with listeners maybe some of the learnings, or how is it, that how do you find your ability to just get a sense of what people are about, maybe to weed out folks that you just don't think are good for you. I'd love some thoughts on that.
I think just from my upbringing, I think I grew up having to make decisions about people that you hang out with very quickly and know who's a good person, who's not. I think that I'm able to do that a lot of time within minutes of meeting someone. I'm like, this is a good person, or you know what, this is someone I need to stay away from. This is not someone who's good. And then that happens. Those people that you dismiss because they're not good people, it rubs them the wrong way. And sometimes they'll turn into, people that will be an adversary. But for me, I know when someone's a good person to have in your life and someone that's not, whatever the consequences of I'm not around the bush. I'm very blunt, and I believe that's the way to be, and straightforward. And just from my upbringing, I met a lot of different types of people. I met a lot of con men and bad people, and you kind of have that sense, and I can see right through. I can look in someone's eyes, and you just know. I just know this is a good person. This is someone I want to do business with. This is someone I want to be around. Or you look at someone like, these are bad people. I need to stay away. And you're always going to have people try to attack you in business. I've had it happen. Everyone's had it happen. For me, it doesn't faze me. And I think that's what bothers the people that are out to get you even more, is when they see you're not fazed and it doesn't even bother you, and you work through it, and you come out on top each time, because when you're a survivor and you know how to get through bad situations, you'll always end up on top when you think things through.
Yeah. Spectacular. Dan, the idea of helping the world be better through your philanthropic work, you're a business savvy guy. And so share with us how you have thought about your philanthropic, if you will, strategies or approach, right? Because you can't help everybody do everything. And I'm just curious how you could have been so intentional about where you put your time and your money.
So, as you mentioned in the intro so eloquently about my fight with Evander Holyfield, that was a great experience to get people involved in our knockout autism efforts, me and Evander, who's become a very good friend. I had another fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, and we knocked out diabetes and raised money for that cause. I used a lot of sports, celebrity, to kind of make that relevant in my goals of helping children and helping causes that are dear to my heart. I threw out the first pitch at 3 Major League Baseball games which was a great experience for me. But it was also great because the reason I was asked to throw out those pitches because I did so much for those charities, and those are charities that were children charities to try to help people in those communities, for those teams, or and I just put my efforts into causes, like I said, that are dear to me. Kingsbridge Heights Community Center, I hosted an event for them. It's a great community center in the Bronx that does a lot for the kids there. Really helps build their strengths in learning and community, and gives them a place to go to. And those are things that I really take pride in. Also, my charity that I'm the chairman of, that builds schools in Africa. I just take everything that I see that can do the most good and can make immediate impact on helping these children and give them either a place to learn or help kids get a surgery they need, whatever it is. Those are the things that I kind of put my money into and put my time into, things that can actually give immediate impact. And I don't like to just give money blind. I like to actually be a part of the charities and bring something to the table that helps them grow. I got on stage with Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Stephen Colbert for the Montclair charity that day, that Stephen's a big part of, that helps kids in that community learn about film and helps them, underprivileged kids to get into, that industry, and was on stage in front of 3,000 people and was able to, talk to the crowd about charity and giving back. And it was a great experience to do that. And those are the type of things that I like to do to make the biggest reach and impact possible, so you can really help as many as you can.
We want more of you. That's spectacular. Okay, let's segue to the Say It Skillfully part of the show. And folks, this is one of the more skillful people I know. And I know you have often, Dan, have to let down people with not great expectations. And I'm sure listeners, you may have been one of these people who didn't have great expectations. So just love to hear, Dan, how you've, are able to tell it to people in a way that they can receive it and move forward.
Well, I think when you're giving someone something news that they don't want to hear, I think the best way to do it is to be straightforward, not be around the bush, and just get right to it. And, I'm not one to coddle them and to baby someone. I believe the best way to do it is just kind of tear off the Band-Aid and that's it. This is what it is. Yeah, it might hurt for a second, but let's think of a way to fix whatever the situation is, the bad news. Why don't we work together to find a way to make it the best possible? And I think that's what makes the difference, is the approach, but also the aftermath of how to accomplish and change or fix whatever the issue is. That's what separates the men from the boys.
I love the solution focus. Oh, we could go on and on and on. So let's bring it to a little bit of a wrap. If you were to step back, what might be 3 words or 3 phrases, Dan, that best describe you?
3 words or phrases. Well, it's tough. It's tough to kind of isolate, but I would say 3. I'll go with the words. I think 3 words. Determined is one, and I've always been very determined. with whatever I got involved with, whether it's determined in business or in life or, in charity efforts, that determination has never wavered. I think strength. I'm not scared, of anything or anyone. I have the strength to survive through any situation. Sometimes it's, it gets tough and hard, but when you've had your back against the wall before at young ages, you always find a way to supersede and to come through on top. And the last word would just be a giver. I give my time to friends and family and people that I'm helping and to the charities. And, I think giving your time is more valuable than giving money. Being someone that actually comes up with solutions to problems than just throws money at a problem. That is a big issue that I've seen with homelessness in New York, is that the city just throws money at the issue and puts them into hotels and doesn't look back, where, I'm coming up with ideas of how to meet them, connect with them on the street, how to then give them a job, give them an apartment, and watch them succeed and be a part of society instead of a pariah that they put in a hotel room for $1,000 a night. Give them a job, give them an apartment, and watch how you see how people from the street can actually grow. These are the things that I like to put my time into and dedicate to, and that brings me strength, is coming up with solutions to problems that are very easy, I think, for me to see, but people don't want to put the time in or the thought into actually making a better situation, a better solution to especially some of these long lasting problems that we have in society.
Yeah, thank you for that. Dan, you have accomplished much and there's much more in the future. I am curious, is there a particular proudest accomplishment thus far?
I'd say my accomplishment is being able to give back at a young age and to focus on my philanthropist efforts in life. And being able to do that is my biggest accomplishment, to be able to give back, to the communities, especially some that I grew up in. Being able to speak to the kids that are going through tough times now, and, do my small part to try to help motivate them and let them see that there's another side to life. A lot of them just feel hopeless. So I think that's my proudest thing in my life, is being able to help the children that are in need the best that I can. You can't save everyone, unfortunately. I would love to, but do my part. And I hope that everyone out there and everyone's listening does their part, whatever that may be, whether that means volunteering somewhere, donating to a cause that you believe in. But if everyone had this mindset and this philosophy to give back and to dedicate themselves to helping one other person, this world would be a lot better place. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be, struggles, homelessness. It would be a world that I think all of us would be proud of, seeing every single person, succeed, at least have the basic essentials to survive. And that's something I would like to spread the word, and maybe, as best I can, kind of recruit more people to what I've been doing. And I have over the years, lots of friends and people out there, colleagues that I met, that I've got them involved in the charities and they weren't involved before, and got them, to help in their way and whatever specialties that they can bring to the table. And that's something I look forward to doing, for the rest of my life.
Spectacular. One last question, Dan. What was it like for you to share your journey with us today?
Molly, you are such a remarkable, special person. And, I'm proud just to, be your friend and to, be here talking today. It's an honor. And, I'm happy that I can share at least a small part of what I've seen, and hope there's someone who's listening that it does help motivate them and makes a difference in someone else's life that they're able to, or in their life. And, I'm happy that I'm able to share that with you, and maybe down the road, I'll be able to share more and get into more details of what I've been through. And I think eventually we'll get there and get the full story out. And I'm happy that this was a starting point, because I don't really speak too much about my past. And, I wanted to give your listeners a taste of, someone that's been down, that brought themselves up. And, it's a story that, hopefully can, like I said, motivate someone out there. And I'm happy I was able to share it with you, Molly, my friend.
You have helped me. You have helped many listening and many more to come. I appreciate you, Dan, for joining me, sharing so generously with us, and for your incredible support of our community and our world. I'm always cheering for you and inspired how you are part of the solution in creative and meaningful ways. And if I can be a tiny bit helpful, you let me know. You take good care.
Thank you, Molly. Really appreciate it.
Oh, folks, my thought for the week, courtesy of Dan. Put your mind to it. You can accomplish anything. And that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. Please be part of the solution and kindly share this show. Amplify Dan's voice. Reflect on your top takeaways and know I'm cheering for you to be who you are and say what needs to be said, so that you and those around you have a shared reality, essential to make the best decisions, execute with speed, and achieve outstanding outcomes at work and in your life.
Thanks for listening to Say It Skillfully with host Molly Chang. Join us again for more ways to say it skillfully next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel. Follow Molly on LinkedIn and Twitter. Check out sayitskillfully.com and sign up so you don't miss her latest 90-second video. And please, be part of the solution. Kindly tell others about this program so they say it skillfully too.